Hello and welcome to Alternative Dimension. I am Nishchal Kumar, doing Masters in Journalism and Communication from MIT. The topic for deliberation today is socio-economic environment of India in the year 2015. Indeed, there seems to be newfound buzz and the momentum in the entire system. Everybody across the length and the breadth of the globe is looking at India with a different perspective, a sense of hope, and that has happened. A large part of the credit would go to the people of India who have elected, given a decisive mandate and formulated a strong government at the center. Things are moving. There is traction in the society. On macroeconomic indicators, we have been able to curtail inflation, which is, you might recall, just a couple of years before, it was reaching double digit. Thanks to decision making policies, now the inflation number has been curtailed, and that is perhaps why, after having observed that these inflation numbers were within the normal range, Mr. Raghuram Rajan eventually and finally thought about injecting liquidity in the system, whereby he reduced the interest rates, and that was very necessary. The corporate, the SMEs, everybody was wanting the banks to reduce the interest rate so as to create an environment wherein cost of capital would be less. And indeed, this is an investment oriented growth that we are espousing for. And going forward, you see, we need money. The FDI caps in different sectors, defense, the FDI cap in retail, insurance, have all been increased, and that is for a purpose. We need foreign players to come into our market so as to create a manufacturing hub, so as to generate employment and add to the GDP, which thankfully has crossed 6.5, and in the last 2 decades, besides the 2008 debacle wherein the GDP was rather sluggish, for the last 2 decades after the policy of liberalization, privatization and globalization, indeed our GDP has been more than optimal. And I, at personal level, do understand that we could have done better, but indeed since 1997 we have not been very bad. We have posed a growth number which can be said as decent, but I do believe going forward reaching double digit numbers would not be a handicap, given the decision making ability of the government, given the buzz around the Indian economy, given the aspirational society that we are living in, given that India essentially is a demand driven society. People suggest that there is always a supply side gap, and to a larger extent I would like to believe that that is true. Therefore, there is huge, humongous scope for improvement. There are just 15,000 companies across the length and breadth of India who is having a working capital of more than 10 crores, which is seriously confounding and some would say disconcerting, given the purchasing power parity and the size of the economy. By purchasing power parity we stand at 3, the size of economy is 11th or 12th. The big behemoths like Google, Facebook, like others which are there in the global front, we have not been able to create those big behemoths. But does that mean it is not possible? Indeed it is possible. What is needed is intent followed by action, and for that everybody has to participate. Infrastructural development is going to be the driving force of economy going forward. If we think about becoming a global superpower, if we think about increasing the per capita income, if we think about curtailing the deficit and in fact having surplus, we need infrastructure development in every sector. Yes, in internet penetration we have done phenomenally well. I would not be exaggerating if I said directly or indirectly more than 75% of the people are having access to internet. At least 90 crore of people in India is having access to mobile, and that has been the game changer. It has rewritten the grammar altogether, and that is perhaps why you see lot of e-commerce sites, Myntra, there are others, Flipkart, who are cropping up and doing great business, because you see India, the future of India is pregnant with possibilities. We had huge room for improvement. You see, the Chinese economy has started to show signs of downturn. It from in 65, from its contribution to 13% to the 12% to the global growth, it shot up to 33%, and now there is a relatively a downturn. We have surpassed China, we have surpassed America itself in terms of FDI. There has been 20% jump in FDI, and that can be attributed to the fantastic and phenomenal marketing of brand India by our Honorable Prime Minister Mr. Narendra Kumar Modi. Orator that he is able to tantalize not just the general populace but the corporates, the MNCs also, that if you come to us, we will give you opportunities, and in the quid pro quo that would lead to increase in manufacturing, that would lead to technology import, that would lead to skills enhancements, which is so very necessary. Make in India campaign, Digital India campaign, Swachh Bharat campaign, all such vision statement converges to bring about a meaningful, cogent overhauling of the narrative, which is sine qua non. Seriously, our USP, otherwise in my 80s I used to recall, we would always say that India's biggest problem, it's its population. It was ballooning, and everybody, you would know, there was an event in history wherein Nasbandi was being advocated at a large mammoth extent. But world is a strange place. The SWOT analysis, sometimes you think that is your weakness and it might end up becoming your strength, and this is precisely what happened to India. It's rather paradoxical and oxymoron, but this is how it changed. Now they say 65% of the population in India is below 35 years of age, and there is a story and a narrative there. What do I mean? What do you mean? What is your take home? The take home is that we might not become manufacturing hub, and let us not want to replicate Chinese model. That was true in China at a particular context. Merely wanting to ape policies would not work. Going forward, I seriously think India is essentially going to become the human resource capital of India. Each year, more than 1 crore literate population is being added to the mainstream. Although I understand that the quantity of education is rather flattering, but the quality, I do understand we may not be performing, but still we have some good organizations like IIT, IIMs who are able to produce brightest of the brightest, and this is the system which has produced likes of Sundar Pichai. This is the system which has produced likes of Indira Nooyi. This is the system which is exporting CEOs to the entire globe. So this population of 65% is really hungry for consumption. It is starved. It is wanting to work. It is aspirational. Some would say in the last decade, a new demographic class has evolved, and this new demographic class is referred to by some people as neo middle class, and that has happened thanks to the policy of liberalization, privatization and globalization, which was kick-started in 1991. But then you see, that was the first generation reform. The problem is politicians, our ease of doing business is happening, but there is more which is supposed to be done. Essentially what I am trying to allude to is to the second generation reforms, which is not happening. There are major impediments and bottlenecks. Everybody across the globe, I want to sincerely supplicate and implore our political fraternity to kindly rise above their political aspirations and think about India first. We need labor law, we need reforms, we need GST, and we need land reforms. Unless that is done, unfortunately the incumbent government is failing to do so because it is not having majority in Rajya Sabha. But that is the beauty of democracy. No entity in democracy is absolute, and merely saying that there is a challenge and because of this I am not being able to do something is a lame excuse. The utopian situation is rather utopian. It is rather a confabulation of mind. It is never going to happen. You will have bottlenecks, you would have challenges, but let us look at it as a challenges, as an opportunities. Why can't you do it? You can call, you are allowed to, there are ways, there are mechanisms in the system to override Rajya Sabha. So government can do it because this is indispensable. This is sine qua non. Unless you do second generation, let me share with you such certain figures. You see, every year the elections happen, the first year after election, it would so transpire that the stock market would increase by 20%. So Mr. Ruchir Sharma was wanting to suggest ironically that the increase in stock market by 20% is a extrapolation of sense of hope that the general people have with the incumbent new government. The second year is the real year, and in the second year, if the government pushes forward with the reform agenda, there is a further push of 20% in the stock market. Otherwise, if the reform agenda is not continued, what would happen, that there would be downturn, and not just a downturn but a 90-degree decline. So you do not have an opportunity, there is no alternative to second generation reforms, and I am pretty sanguine. I don't want to sound cynical, there are challenges, it will happen, it is taking time. You see, 9 lakh crores of rupees is going to be pumped into infrastructure sector. Students like me should understand and realize that, you see, employment is always a challenge, but there are not just private players, not that indigenous players, not just MNCs, but foreign players also who will be coming to India, invest in India, service sector, manufacturing sector, everywhere across the board. But then the point is, we should be battle ready. The youth of the nation should be battle ready. It's not necessarily about the knowledge that we have, because you would know knowledge is available at the fingertip. You have Wikipedia, you have Google. Knowledge is sacrosanct, it is gospel, but there's a catch with the knowledge. With the knowledge, what is more important is the application of knowledge. So that is why our Prime Minister had been referring to skilled India. We need India which can execute, we need India that can perform. Application of skill is so very important. It's not enough to create well-filled mind, we also need well-formed mind, and then only we can write a prosperous narrative of the India and the vision that each of us are having. There are problems, you see, bureaucratic red tapeism, and you see, to a larger part corruption, bureaucratic red tapeism, these challenges can be overcome with simple measures. I had always thought that red tapeism is there in the bureaucracy, in the politics, and even to a large extent in judiciary, because of one single reason, and that is, perhaps I think everybody across the board is wary of taking decisions. The devolution of power has to happen. People must be made accountable for their action. If they don't perform, there has to be a system which would disincentivize them, and if they perform, let there be incentives. You know, getting into a government job is what they say, काम करो तो सरकारी, नहीं तो बेचो तरकारी. This is the attitude of Indian people. But let us change now. We are not living in eras wherein inertia was our biggest enemy. Today, you need to execute and perform, and to be able to do so, you have no option but to create value in the system at every possible level. And we have to be go-getters. The millennial class, I'm myself from Bihar, and what I see in Amity here, and I'm pretty positive. People are wanting to perform. People are hungry for recognition. They want fat salaries. They want cars. They want latest gizmos. And this is going to be the driving force of India going forward. But everything has to converge and be consistent so as to bring about meaningful change. And that can happen only when everybody within the system is working towards a vision, and that vision is a developed India. And you see, you need participation. The government alone, the private companies alone cannot bring about that development. It is the people, and it is the people who are the most important players. Unless we as a society own up accountability and understand that we need to execute, and our execution should also be measurable and incentives fixed according to our performance, that will change the system. Indeed, I understand that the path ahead might be precarious, the road ahead might be precarious, and the comfort zones that each of us live in has made us rather inane. There is always a resistance to change. We do not want to fine tune ourselves according to the circumstances. But they say there is only one thing which is constant, and that is change itself. So let us change with the change, and if you don't change with the change itself will change you. We do not have any option but to start. And moreover, you see, India is a biggest emerging economy. We are moving at a growth rate of 7%, and within a year, I would not be living in a fool's paradise if I were to suggest we will not just cross 9, but we will be able to get a figure of 10, and that is a possibility. But that possibility can only fructify and translate if right policy actions, right policy decisions, right piece of legislations happen. There has to be a sense of possessiveness. Our thanks to our Prime Minister Mr. Modi, who's, I must admit, a workaholic. I don't know whether he catches some sleep, because every day and every time I see him performing and working. Perhaps he is working 18 hours a day thanks to the yoga classes that he is having. He is a man possessed. He is having a vision, and he is having an intention, and not just the story would not end there. He wants people to buy into vision, and that has changed the paradigm. The brand India is now being reckoned as a formidable force. We are not the world which we used to be in days gone by. The demographic dividend that we enjoy, 65% youth population. You see, what will happen is that our European counterparts, our American counterparts, it is so happening, including Chinese counterparts, their average age is going above 40. So, what is the underlying implication? The working population is within India, and that is our USP. But merely being educated would not work. You also have to have well defined skills, because there would be huge dearth of manpower all across the globe. And let's not want to be super rich. First, let's raise the per capita income of each individual in the society. Manufacturing is taking place in India. Job generation will happen in India, and there would also be global opportunities wherein you can present yourself not necessarily as a CEO. CEO also you will be able to get that opportunity, but then many technical jobs. Why can't we try our luck in Polytechnic? Why can't we good mechanics? Why can't we good plumbers? Why can't we good teachers at high school level, at primary school level? So this is how things are going to work going forward. There is a massive buzz around the India story, and I sincerely believe in days to come, and perhaps sooner than later, things would be radically different than what they are today. We are moving on the track, we are on the right trajectory, and going forward, I am more than sure that we will be able to realize our dreams. With that said, I conclude. Thank you.